All right.
Yeah, we are live.
We are. Gotta put my headset on. There we go. I think it's on. There we go. All right, yeah, it is 3 o'clock, so you are listening to Average Rants here at KNMC
90.1
FM.
Yeah. My wife didn't know that it was me who did the 90.1 part.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's like, is that you? I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Oh, maybe we sound the same.
No, we don't.
To her, we do.
No. Oh, I hope not.
Yeah. But yeah, we are live on YouTube again.
Yeah, we got it to work. I figured it out.
I think there's volume, right?
I haven't heard any complaints yet. As soon as our phones start blowing up, we'll know.
Okay. But, yeah. So,
She can hear us because we do not sound alike.
area events. What's going on in the area?
There's baseball today.
There is baseball. Where was that?
Up at the Legion Field.
Yeah, I'm reading it right here. It started at 1,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's baseball, I assume it's still going on.
Oh, yeah, there was a whole bunch of people when I went by there a little while ago.
And then it'll also be continuing on tomorrow, because it's the Northwest Class A Regional Baseball Tournament.
Boom.
Mic drop.
Get up there and watch some baseball.
Yeah, that happened 6th, 7th, and 8th. Huh. Must be a big thing.
Yeah.
Do you know more about that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Didn't play that level of baseball.
Well,
I could have.
I'd like to play baseball.
I would love to play. Well, we're at our age, we're going to play softball.
Wow, I'd like to play baseball.
Right.
I can still throw a fastball.
But they don't have adult baseball.
Yeah, I know.
They have adult softball.
I would just like to stand in a field and catch a ball once in a while.
Put me out right.
Isn't that where you put the...
Guy who can't do anything? Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't want people to know that I'm actually okay at baseball and make me have to do stuff.
Oh, what else do we got here? Lots of stuff happening at the library. Use your library.
The local library. I went in there. It's got a lot of cool stuff in there. Books.
There are, let's see, August 26th, there are auditions in Montana Actors Theater, where you come down and you audition for a bunch of shows.
Yep.
Go down and do that.
Just do it.
But yeah, not a whole lot. I think school's starting up soon. There's not too much plans of
Get
stuff.
Get your last couple of weeks of vacation, and school starts the end of the month.
Yeah, keep coming to the Saturday markets too. It got rained out this time.
Yeah, how many hours? Would you get, like an hour?
Yeah, we were there for about an hour and a half, and then it got so bad that we packed up quick and then helped a bunch of other vendors that were paying. Like, it went from calm
To deluged.
If you had a booth by yourself, you were holding your tarp or like your little canopy down while trying to pack. So my wife and I went and we're trying to help people pack up.
There you go.
Do our good deed. And it was funny because we got in the car too, and then I just looked at her. I was like, "Well, that was actually fun." And she's like, "Are you kidding me?" I always tell her there was a story from when we were dating that I walked her home from where I was living, and it was like about a 25-minute walk to get to her place from mine. And about halfway there, it started pouring rain. So I got her home, dropped her off, and we were laughing because we were just drenched. And then I was like, "All right, see ya." And then I walked home. And the things you do.
Right.
But there, I did the events that I could find. Oh wait, the Color Fun Run and Walk. It's happening on the 12th, so that's next weekend, isn't it?
Huh?
No, it's this weekend.
Yeah, the 12th. Yeah, today's the 6th.
It's the weekend coming up. I always find it's hard when you're in the weekend. So like when you're on Saturday, do you say it's the next weekend or it's this weekend? Because you're already in this weekend, but is the next weekend this weekend? Or?
Well, it depends on how you start your week. Do you consider Monday your first day of the week, or do you consider the actual first day of the week, which is Sunday?
No, I
Most
guess
people
Sunday
consider-
because I don't.
You don't. paying attention. But most people consider Monday because it's
The start of the
the
work.
start of the work week. And the Blaine County Fair is coming this weekend too, so you can go check that out. So,
Or are we getting things to talk about?
just an announcement there
Where's that?
in Chinook.
Oh, okay. I guess Chinook's in Blaine County.
Yeah.
I don't know these things.
Get to know your home, Barry.
I do know.
You've been here almost a decade. You got to learn some stuff.
I'll know it when I've been here a decade.
It's not too long out,
Oh man, isn't that weird?
right? Wow. Guess what?
Chicken.
I have a rant and a conspiracy theory all in one.
Oh man, that's like our grassroots.
This is
what
what
we're good at.
This is what we do. There are people out there. Oh, come on. Just open it.
Might have to select and then copy paste the. Did you lose it?
Yeah. Anyway, there's a theory out there that Walmart, this is right up your alley, is 3D printing and selling chicken.
Like
The edible chicken kind.
that's impossible at the moment.
We can grow meat, right? We've done this.
Well, you mean like clone?
Sort of, yeah. But there are people out there because they look at the chicken and one person's like, they bought this chicken at Walmart. I can't see the whole story now because my phone deleted it. But I could, but they're like, look at the texture of this chicken. You could totally tell it's been 3D printed because it has layers into it. Yeah, right there. Oh, down one. It has gills. So a butcher is like, no, that's how muscle fiber form.
Yeah.
It forms in layers. Even your muscles do this.
That is true.
And people are convinced it is 3D printed, and the technology doesn't exist right now for us to 3D print meat.
Well, the thing that I would ask is if they're 3D printing meat, what are they using as a filament?
Right.
So like that's like your plastic, or like when I do it, it's PLA plastic.
Right.
You can get like ABS, which is a little bit stronger. Is it resin? Is a type of filament, depending on what you're doing. So what are my question would be: are they grinding up chicken and then using chicken as filament?
Right.
It has gills.
Yes, I know that they have cloned meat and they can grow it in labs and stuff like that. But the technology to actually 3D print a chicken breast doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna 3D print a chicken breast.
You can. It'll be a little tough.
Right? I'm not gonna eat it. I'll just take it to Walmart.
I hear you guys need some help. But why? Like, do you think people just need something to complain about?
I do. I've always had a theory, which I've talked to my wife about a lot. And, I guess the easiest way to put it is if there was no crime, right? So crime was gone. So everything that we deem bad right now, that is a crime that you would get a fine for, whatever. Nobody did that anymore. Eventually, things that we don't consider crime would then become a crime. Right. Because we always would have it. Because then people would be like, oh, no, now you walked your dog on a Tuesday at 6 a.m. That's a crime now. Yeah. So it's the same thing to me. It's like people just naturally, like, look at the internet. The internet with that wall of anonymous makes it so that you can complain about everything.
And the whole, not just the 3D printed meat. People are like, I won't eat GMOs, genetically modified organisms. I'm sorry to say this, but you can't eat anything then. Any animal that we have, that we eat, like pork, chicken, all that stuff has been domesticated, which means on a genetic level, it has changed. Yeah. Fruits, vegetables. You Google a tomato, well, which one do you want? Because those are all different versions of tomatoes that we've genetically modified to survive different weather conditions, grow in different places. You can't eat.
My wife was telling me that that's not my theory. It's Durkheim's.
Dirk, who's Durkheim?
I don't know. That's why it couldn't be mine, because he just had the same mindset as me. So I guess we were both geniuses.
Genius. Yeah, I'm like, oh god, with the genetic, I'm like, okay, you can't eat certain types of food, that's fine, but non-GMO, non-genetically modified. I get it. The definition of genetically modified has changed over time, but wheat, we've changed that over the centuries. So
Well, I mean, there's no true banana anymore, right? It's all the
no, they're all clones.
Yeah.
There were two species. One went extinct in like the 80s, I think.
And
that's where your banana flavored popsicle comes from. So
I love the banana.
if you were ever lucky enough to get one of those, you know what we're talking about. A banana,
Those used to be my favorite.
right? Like, have you ever noticed when you bite into any banana flavored anything, it doesn't taste like the bananas that you get at the store. It's so much better.
Did it have to do with the ones that we have now were easier to grow?
I don't know. Well, that and the other ones, they caught. I think they got taken out by like a plague of some kind that took them all out.
No, I don't know. I think people just they need to force their opinion on people.
Right. Well, a perfect example of like you go to the store and you buy strawberries. They're huge. Try growing strawberries in your yard. They'll get half that size. Maybe if you're lucky, you might get one.
I don't know.
They are, but the home
I
grown
bet you
ones
if
is
you
way
live near
better.
a nuclear power plant that you can get strawberries.
Let's go to Chernobyl and check it out. We gotta dodge the 3-headed dogs and the and the evil stuff first. But you just can't hang out well. Did you know you get tours there?
In radiation suits?
Well, no, you just can't. So I didn't know this, but apparently you can go get a tour, and you have to sign a waiver, but you can only stay in certain areas for so long, and then you just move along. And after, you get to take a fun shower.
Well, isn't that close to being non-radioactive?
No, it's got about 10,000 years to go.
See what it says.
For Chernobyl.
Yeah, but that's a word that I just don't know.
CHER.
Oh.
And there you go.
We'll just use the Google.
About 20,000 years.
Oh, yeah, so that's pretty bad there.
You got a ways to go. What's crazy, though, fun fact, that 4 days they were going to open a theme park. Chernobyl was going to be the up-and-coming city in the area.
Because that power plant created so many jobs.
Right. And so they had created a park that had it was going to be all year round. It had a theme park in it, not like a theme park, but like a little fair.
A little fair.
Yeah, right. And it never got to open. So you go there and you see this theme park, and it's just falling apart. Like, it's one of the most famous images you see of Chernobyl is like you'll see this fun little amusement park right in the middle of town. I mean, it was supposed to be one of the big up and coming towns, and then boom.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that Chernobyl kind of gave nuclear energy kind of a kick in the stomach as far as growing. We do have quite a few nuclear power plants, but people are really scared of them because of what happened.
Mm-hmm. I can get it. I mean, they're very dangerous.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, the technology that has come around is so much that they learned from the mistakes that they had made. You know, there's a nuclear-powered train in Siberia?
I wouldn't want to see that crash.
Well, there's a reason why it's in Siberia. Because, first of all, not a lot of train stations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to fuel it because it's good on fuel for a good long while due to the nuclear-powered engine. But it's only powered by like one person, and it just transports goods back and forth across Siberia.
Yeah, we need a bullet train.
Yeah, our railroad infrastructure is kind of messed up. I don't think you'd have to straighten out the tracks going through the mountains first of all, but we could do it.
Who needs tracks? Let's just make it a hover bullet train. Use magnets to keep it.
I mean, it would be cool. I mean, they do have some pretty fast trains over on the East Coast, not like in Europe where you can get from like country to country in like 30 minutes. But
yeah, it'd be so awesome. I would not want to be involved in a crash with them though.
But they're surprisingly safe.
Yeah, I don't even know if there has been, honestly.
Oh, I'm pretty sure there has been, but it's not something they like to advertise. That Bullet Train, that's a fun movie. Did you ever watch it?
No.
It's actually a pretty fun movie. I would take a bullet train ride though.
Yep, there was one.
Yep. I mean, there had to be at least one sometime. But it'd be nice to get. Do you know how long it takes to go from Chicago to the West Coast?
Well, it took us 2 days to get.
It take you almost a week on the train. It takes forever.
Yeah, and that's
because you got to stop all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing I found weird was going on the train. I would, we took it because we wanted to not have to drive, and in the end, I was more tired from taking the train than doing a 3-day drive.
You're not real comfortable.
Oh, it was just. But then I didn't understand why it would just stop and then not move.
Well, here they got a mine side. We just don't have the commercial side of it, and then the passenger track. They share a track. So, granted, Amtrak gets the right of way. So if there's a train hauling goods, it's got to pull off and let Amtrak go. Amtrak very rarely pulls off unless there's something very bad happening for stuff like that. But it's still, like I went to Kalispell this last summer, and it took almost 6 hours, right? That's not even through Montana. So, I mean, from Chicago to Seattle, that's a ride. It's a very beautiful trip. If you do it through the daytime, through the Rockies, it's a very nice, beautiful trip. And Canada is some of the best looking train up through
the V-Rail,
right up through Canada there in British Columbia and all those places there. I can imagine going to but you get like the United States, the more easterly you get like, wow, I see frozen wasteland forever.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
Right? It's Canada.
Canada is beautiful.
Yeah. So we went from chicken to
Canada is beautiful. Well, it's because you wanted to talk about 3D printing chicken.
Right?
And that's what happens.
See what I get? Fine.
What? Is it breaking on you now?
Sure. I'll just have to do it the old crappy way.
So you took the time to find a bunch of things to talk about, and you put them in like a little note thing.
Yeah, and it won't open them now.
No.
Now I have to go through and anyway. So there's one place on this planet that you would think that you couldn't see human interference or anything like that. Well, apparently we were wrong. The deepest, you know what the deepest place on our planet is, right? Hardest place to get to?
Would it be that sinkhole?
The Marianas Trench, right? It's 7 miles deep.
Oh, yeah. That's underwater.
Yeah, very much so. They sent a craft down there that they always do to take a look around because it's the only thing to get down there. You can't get down there in a cheap $5 submarine with a game controller, obviously.
What are you hitting at?
Nothing. They sent a little rover thingy down there to check it out, and they're like, wow, this is so cool. This has probably been untouched by humans. And they scan over, and there's a plastic trash bag laying at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. Like,
we did it.
We are destroying this. I mean, we destroy everything we touch.
Yeah, we're a virus.
Oh, yeah. And don't give me that crap that global warming is. If you haven't stepped outside in the last few weeks, move to Texas. Those guys are roasting.
I was watching Futurama today, and it was the one when they teleport back and they're the aliens that crash in Roswell. And one thing that made me laugh was hear the professor being like, what is this layer of ozone? That hasn't existed for years.
Right? But it's just sad to see that even the place, we have a tougher time getting down there than we do getting to the moon. We put a man on the moon.
So what you're saying is plastic can make it down there. We need to make plastic submarines.
The sad thing is we could put a man on the moon, but we can't put a man at the bottom of our ocean.
Yeah, well, it's because the pressure is so great up in space. It doesn't have that.
Well, there's zero. Well, it's negative atmosphere, which means you will literally your entrails become your extra. You'll implode. It's a vacuum. It's very backwards. Just as bad though.
Mm-hmm.
So, same outcome.
Different direction.
Mm-hmm. You don't go in, you go out. Yeah, it's 7 miles down, sitting. Yeah.
You know what they need to do is, do you remember those movies that have the like the jelly oxygen, so you can be in this jelly but still breathe?
Right.
They need to be able to do that, and then that would counter the pressure, because it wants to fill with water, but if you're in this jelly.
Yeah, it sucks. There's a plastic shopping bag, a 5-gallon bucket, just laying 7 miles below the water.
How did it get there?
You do know there's like a 6-mile wide giant trash heap just floating around in the ocean, right? It's almost as big.
It's now an ecosystem that they talked about how they can't get rid of it because there's life in it.
But that's just one of the crazy things. How like nature's like, you know what? I'll make the best of a really bad situation.
That's not a bucket. That's a resort for a crab.
My new shell, and I can't outgrow this one. But yeah, just kind of crazy. No. Okay. This one's for you.
No. You got to copy paste.
Yes, I got a copy. Because whatever. This is a mistake that you wouldn't do. I guarantee it. When you move, when you pack up all your belongings, what is your most what things do you make sure, outside of money and all that stuff, but like stuff that you do for fun? What are the first things that you make sure you have packed so you don't forget them?
So besides like my family?
Yeah. Make sure. Do we have my daughter?
Yeah. We'd know if we forgot her.
Right.
Well, I guess probably like my computer.
Gamer moves out of his apartment building and accidentally leaves box of old video games behind. Would you ever forget your video games?
No.
Let's forget the fact that most of your video games are digital. But back in the day, they used to come.
I still, like, I had a Nintendo that had a bunch of games. And I left it at my parents' house until I found like a home. Because my wife and I were moving around so much, I didn't want to cart it around everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I finally got my first home, I went back and said I wanted to get it. My sister had stolen it. Yeah. And she told me I couldn't get it back.
Well, and here's the thing. These games were old games, right? For like the old Nintendo system. I know you know this, but some NES games, some old Nintendo games can go for thousands of dollars because they're that rare. Like they were built to last, right? They were built to. Okay,
well, you can clean them up, but they
deteriorate over time, and they weren't built. They were like, oh, whatever. But apparently this guy just forgot some, and whoever moved in after him got loaded. They found a bunch of the games, and yeah,
it's hilarious.
Like, you call yourself a video gamer, and you're like, oh, I'll just leave all my video games behind. Yeah, no. And people are like, well, how do you know he was a gamer? First of all, the box of games is ridiculous. Like, it's a huge stuff. and unless, and this isn't the case, but unless dude was living with his girlfriend, he got booted, and she's like, you know what? Your games aren't going.
I'm keeping those.
Yeah. Right? You paid more attention to those games than you did me, so I'm keeping your games and booting you.
And that's just, I don't know, as soon as you start talking about that, and you're talking about the old games, I was like, kids got it so nice now.
You'll never experience ever having to blow into your video game cartridge before you can play it.
Well, like, what is it? Final Fantasy, the original one, was a game that it took, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a 40-hour game. 16 hours. So to beat the game, and I mean, remember this.
Yeah, but that's an original.
But 16 hours, there was no save file.
Yeah, console game. So you left your console on, and you were standing in a pod.
If your mom unplugged it to put the vacuum in, or bumped it and hit the reset button,
right,
or you wanted to play another game, you couldn't till you beat it.
Yeah, to start over. Well, it was the same for most games, like Mario. No NES game had a save point. You're like, you played it till you were done, or you died.
Yeah. I mean, Mario was one of the first ones with Super Mario World had that, the save.
Well, that was in a later console. That wasn't the NES console.
Yeah.
Did you know that in Mario, in the original Marios, he's not saying "It's me, Mario"? Do you know what he's actually saying?
It's a me?
"It's a me," which in Japanese means super. Super Mario is what he's saying. Because there's no translation in Japanese for Mario. It's just how the Japanese designed a game with an Italian plumber in it. It's beyond me.
Yeah.
But he wasn't originally a plumber either. He was in Donkey Kong. He was Jumpman, I think is what they called him.
I can't remember.
Yeah, he wasn't Mario. He was just Jumpman. That was Mario's original name. He was just Jumpman in the Donkey Kong game.
Well, he was originally called Mr. Video.
Mr. Video.
And he was renamed to Mario after Mario Sigali.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy things. But yeah, Itsumi is Japanese for Super Mario.
Yeah, and I do, like it says in here, that they expected him to be unpopular and planned to use him as a cameo.
Well, do you know why he is the colors he is? It's easy to generate those graphics. Why does he have a mustache? Because they didn't want to give him a mouth. So if you think back and look at the old version of Mario.
Oh, yeah. Like, he does not.
Yeah, there's zero detail to him. They didn't want to spend time on detail. So like, well, yeah, right there in the upper right corner. We'll just make him blue and red.
So much pixely detail.
Oh, yeah. And you don't have to give him any facial features because he's got a mustache.
Yep.
And a hat. They didn't want to render hair, so they gave him a hat. They wanted to put all that into the actual game. Logged a lot of hours on Super Mario. The fact that you could hang onto a cliff with 1/10 of your toe is impressive.
And like hover.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've played and beat every Mario game.
Did you do all the levels or did you jump?
So Super Mario 3, I think, is what you're talking about for that.
Well, you could do that in the original one too.
Oh yeah, you go to the warp pipes.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about those until
That's what I'm saying.
randomly
Like people figured that out. Like kids these days have no idea what it was like to actually play a video game. You can't go to YouTube or Twitch and go, I can't figure this part of the game out.
I keep thinking back. You remember the first Mario where you would go and then you had to break the brick, and then if you jumped, you got snagged, and you could jump up to the top.
Yeah. So what I was watching a documentary on the making of the original Mario game. And the game is one of the first games that actually teaches you how to play the game within the first 5 minutes. It doesn't tell you, you don't open the book. It doesn't give you a tutorial. You just see how the game works. You're like, I could do that. Like, oh. And they made it almost impossible.
You mean where it does that little intro playthrough?
So when you go get the big mushroom, they make it impossible for you, almost impossible for you, the mushroom not to hit you when it makes you grow. And you're like, oh, hey, those make me grow. Right? When you hit them?
Yeah, and then you play the one that they released after that. And then the purple mushrooms are bad mushrooms.
Right. Like in the new Mario movie, the ones that make you shrink.
Yeah, or die.
I've never seen the cat. I didn't know that they could turn Mario into a cat.
Did you see the new?
What game did that come out in?
That one's Super Mario 3D.
Oh, I was going to say, because I remember he was the raccoon and could fly in Mario 3.
Yeah. So I know about this. Cause
I don't play a lot of Mario.
I still, like, my news feed is just game stuff. But
I haven't touched. I mean, I play Mario at home on occasion. Are you seeing his
new form?
Why is he so pudgy?
Because he's an elephant.
Why is he an elephant?
It's called Super Mario Wonder.
Oh,
it's the new one that's coming out.
Why?
I don't know. It's just one of those things that I'll have to get so I can beat it.
I guess the most modern Mario I played is the Mario Golf that you have for your.
Hey, that's fun.
Yeah. The 6-pack or 2 in, and we're doing great.
Well, you were. I got progressively worse the more I drank. I felt like I drank more. That's why.
You might have. It's just because you can't hold your liquor.
No, I just have more.
So, yeah. Don't forget your video games at home, folks.
Yeah, right?
Wow. I like, yeah, aside from my, I don't know, I'd probably forget my birth certificate before I forgot my video games.
Yeah, when we moved, there was one time we moved, we had to, Sammy like graduated and she had a job that started in like 5 days after she graduated. So we were like, great, we have a week to get out of here.
No, I didn't.
We ended up not getting like half the stuff packed.
Right.
Because Sammy stepped on a staple and she couldn't walk.
Wow. Who left the staple on the floor?
I don't know. It's probably her.
Oh, something tells me that you had something to do with the staple.
I'm the only one that plays with tools, so
It was definitely your fault.
probably.
Right.
But we were moving, so there was a chance that maybe when I was moving stuff, it fell.
Yeah.
But in the end, it just sucked. But yeah, we ended up leaving some stuff. And the worst thing we left, and I didn't even think about it, was we had a filing cabinet that had like all of our documents for like everything.
Well, and you're going from one country to another, so that makes a big difference.
Yeah, we had the documents to get into the over the border, but then when we got there, one of the things that ticked me off the most was we went to Universal Studios, and I got accepted to be on the Fear Factor thing that they had there, and I ended up winning it. So they gave me 4 free tickets with a lifetime. They said it lasted for life, and then the tickets were in that filing cabinet.
Uh-oh.
Now, they did take my fingerprint, but Sammy and I've constantly been like, is it worth driving down there to find out if that's true?
Right. Yeah, I know the wife is planning on doing a garage sale like next weekend, I think.
Yeah.
And she's like, we need to figure out what we want to get rid of. And my train of thought is, have I looked at or touched the item you want to sell in the last 5 years? If I have not, it's going.
It's hard to say goodbye.
She's like, I'm thinking, she's like, we need to go through the basement closet. And I'm like, the only thing that I know of that's mine that's in there is my bowling ball.
Have you touched it in the last 5 years?
No. The one time we were going to go bowling was with you and Sammy, but we couldn't because apparently league night is every night of the week.
Oh, yeah, that was dumb. And there was open lanes.
Open lanes are like, no, we have league night. Well, half of the lanes are being used, but the other half are open. Could we jump on one of the far lanes? We don't get anyone's way. Like, no, they're reserved for league.
I've never seen a league night where, because I've been to lots of bowling alleys. I've never seen a league night where they shut down and just do league.
Right.
Like, it made sense on a golf course, but
yeah, because everybody's using all of the holes, but they weren't using all of the lanes. Like, there were like 7 open lanes. It's like, well, just put us off in the corner like we're the redheaded stepchild or whatever and just leave us alone.
Yeah.
Let all your guys bowling 300 games do their thing, and we're going to just be over here.
Are they bowling 300 games?
They're pretty good. I know some of the guys who bowl. They're pretty good. They bowl in the high 2s. So.
Yeah, I can do that with luck.
See, I bowl like the Amish. 15 frames, and I might break 100.
I like to use that dinosaur that you can put the ball on and then roll it.
Have you seen the bumpers, man? You can't get a gutter ball.
Yeah, but they won't. I tried to play with those, and they got mad at me saying those are for kids.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, well, it's not like I'm chucking them like a
like a missile.
Thor's hammer or something.
Although you try, right? You got to go find that kid's 6-pound ball and just fuck it down there.
No, my favorite thing is I love when kids do when it's so heavy that they're having trouble and they sit down and they're like, and it rolls so slow that you're like, is it gonna make it?
Yeah, they got it slightly slanted, so it will eventually get down there.
I've seen some where they stop in the gutter.
You watched Uncle Buck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it hits the head pin and stops.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was all these stories I had for the week. Can't believe a dude forgot his video games, though. I'm like, that's just...
Yeah,
It's the only thing he does. And works.
Yeah, I don't know. If I didn't have my computer, I'd probably get stuff done.
Take fewer naps.
Oh, I do get drained. I mean, playing like Baldur's Gate 3.
All the time. Right?
Oh, so draining.
All right. Let's hear. I got a top 10. It's not a top 10, but it's a list of 10 widely believed myths about historical figures. Ben Franklin and daylight savings time. People believe that he is credited with daylight savings time. Practice of setting clocks forward by 1 hour during spring to make use of the sunshine and then setting them back in the fall. This idea came from the founding father, dates back to 1784. At the time, 78-year-old Franklin was living in Paris, where he was serving as an American envoy. He wrote that Parisians would save a fortune on candles if they got up with the sunrise. But apparently, he's not the one who did this. He also wrote how he was the first person in Paris to discover that the sun rises so early after being mistakenly woken up at 6 a.m. by random noise and finding his room bathed in sunlight. He also wrote how he told his friends and they refused to believe that such a thing was possible. Furthermore, Franklin had made no mention of setting the clocks forward. Instead, solutions he proposed, again, as satire, were to tax windows that had shutters to keep out the light, to limit the sale of candles to one such pound per week per family, to ring the church bells every morning at 6, and last but not least, to fire cannons in the street to wake everyone up. So apparently, he kind of had the notion of it, but he didn't actually come up with daylight savings time.
This is like, no offense, but
I hate daylight savings time. I really do.
Leave it to an American to go fire a cannon to wake everyone up.
In Paris.
Like when I wake up a lot nicer with the smell of breakfast, especially bacon.
Yeah. Number 9, Fidel Castro and baseball. Fidel Castro wore many hats in his lifetime. Activist, revolutionary, political, radical, guerrilla, ruthless dictator, and according to one enduring myth, he almost donned another hat, that of a New York Yankee. There is no denying that Fidel Castro was a big baseball fan. He was also decent at it, having played in the sport in college in Havana. However, there's a very big gap between decent and becoming a Yankee. At no point was Castro good enough to turn pro, but the popular story claims that he was once a prospect with the Yankees during the 50s, who occasionally changed to the Washington Senators. Yeah. There are a lot of good players that come out of Cuba, but apparently Castro wasn't one of them.
I don't know anything about baseball.
Yeah, you do. You want to play it, right?
I know how to play it, but I don't know anything about
the histories and knowledge of it? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, hockey. I know a little bit about that.
Yeah. The myth, as with many myths, this one might have a seed of truth behind it that helped it take form, as most myths do. It is possible that he may have tried out in a mass tryout staged in Cuba by Joe Cambria, a famed baseball scout who was responsible for bringing scores of Cuban players to America. So, yeah, even if this had happened, Castro would have never been seriously considered, but he liked the story and certainly never made efforts to change it. Big surprise there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there was a story about like average rants and how they were the #1 talk radio show in Havre, I'm not going to correct people.
Yeah. Number 8, Charles Lindbergh and the transatlantic flight. Charles Lindbergh might be the most famous aviator in history, but if you were to ask people what made him so famous, a lot of them would probably give you the wrong answer. They might say that Lindbergh performed the first transatlantic flight back in May 1927 when he boarded the Spirit of St. Louis and flew from New York to Paris. There is no denying that Lindbergh's flight was a landmark moment in aviation history and even human history for that matter, but it came with 2 important caveats that people tend to leave out. It was the first solo and nonstop transatlantic flight. That meant that Lindbergh flew straight from point A to point B without any stops along the way, and he did it all alone. It's still a remarkable feat, but it detracts from the fact that dozens of other people flew across the Atlantic before him. People just left out the small detail that other places had to make landings before they kept going. He did it nonstop. If you're looking for the first nonstop transatlantic flight, then that honor belongs to John Alcock and Arthur Brown, who successfully finished their journey in June 1919, 8 years before Lindbergh. And if we are looking for the first transatlantic flight ever, we only have to go back a few weeks earlier to May 1919. The crew of the Curtis NC-4 flying boat commanded by Rear Admiral Albert Cushing Red did the flight in 19 days after making multiple stops for repairs. So Lindbergh didn't do it first at all. He was the most famous guy to do it.
Well, isn't that usually how it goes?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm sure there's been... Well, when you were a kid, did you ever canoe across a lake?
No.
So, like, my buddy and I did that. We used to just go canoe across the lake. So what's not to say somebody was like, oh, I'm going to go do this. And then, like, 3 years later...
Like everybody's saying that Columbus was the first to cross the Atlantic on a boat.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't discover America. He missed.
Well, no, he discovered China. That's what he thought.
Yeah. He missed by a long ways.
Yeah. He was down near Mexico.
Cuba, yeah.
Yep.
Down yeah. Cass Elliot and the Ham Sandwich. Do you know who Cass Elliot is?
I do not.
She was one of the singers in the Mamas and the Papas in the 1960s and 70s rock band. She was one of the singers.
She made a ham sandwich?
No, the story goes she choked to death on a ham sandwich.
Oh.
As grim as it may be, celebrity deaths are always a rich source of myth and urban legends. For example, did you know that Cass Elliot, better known as Mama Cass from her time with the Mamas and the Papas, choked to death on a ham sandwich? Well, it's not true. But the story appeared soon after her untimely death in London in July 29th, 1974, has stuck around ever since. Who exactly was responsible for this idea is still uncertain. Some point the finger at careless Met officer who opened his mouth to the press. Others say the first physician on site was to blame, as he too spoke to the media when he shouldn't have, and mentioned that the half-eaten ham sandwich was present next to the body and could have been relevant to the cause of death. Since Cass Elliot's weight and had long been subject of jokes in the media, this was all that some unscrupulous journalists needed in order to fashion a cruel but compelling demise for the singer. Yeah, she was a larger lady, but she actually died of a heart attack.
Yes. I was just looking up who this
No
was.
drugs or ham sandwiches were presented in Elliot's system, but by then the rumor had already become fact. Like, that's terrible.
Apparently the only kind of famous person that has died from choking is... His name is...
Dinglefoot.
Dinglefoot.
I don't know who that is.
But he was 72 years old, and he was a British politician and a brother to future Labour Party Michael Foot. Died in Hong Kong in his hotel after he had a chicken sandwich and there was a bone left in it.
Oof.
So
hey, Bush almost went to Bush Jr. The second one. Almost died choking on a pretzel while in office. He survived, though. Yeah.
Man, it makes me wonder how many people. Oh, man, that's crazy. It's really low. So over 4,000 choking related.
But how many of those are children?
Probably a lot.
I would wager at least 75% of those are children.
Now, choking is the leading cause of death for people over the age of 65.
Well, I guess that too, because I mean your muscles get weaker and stuff. Yeah. Wow. Ronald Reagan and Casablanca. Most people know that Ronald Reagan was an actor before turning to politics, eventually becoming president of the United States. But did you know that during his film career, Reagan almost played the lead in Casablanca? A very famous film. I've never seen it. Have you seen it?
Casablanca?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is it good?
No.
Okay, then I won't watch it. This little piece of movie trivia
It's
is
history.
often presented as a fun what if of Hollywood history. What if Humphrey Bogart missed out on his most iconic role? Would Casablanca still have become a hit without him? Would the success of the movie deter Ronald Reagan from entering politics? Just like before, the story of Reagan and Casablanca simply isn't true, but on this occasion, we actually know exactly how the myth got started. It was a result of a press release put out by the Warner Brothers Publicity Office in 1942, which stated that the movie would feature Ronald Reagan and Ann Sheridan. But this was so early in pre-production that the work on screenplay hadn't even started yet and no casting decisions had been made. These kinds of press releases that didn't convey any concrete information were relatively common back then, and they were simply intended to garner some extra publicity for the studio stars. Can you imagine that now? Like, you cannot put anything out there because it's going to go viral.
What are you talking about? You put whatever you want out there and make it go viral.
Right? You can delete it 5 minutes after you've posted it. Millions have seen it.
I feel like,
and copied and pasted and screenshot it.
well, I mean, people tell lies all the time on the internet to get publicity to something.
Right.
Well, like there was, I wonder if I could find it, but there's this group of guys that one of their buddies kind of looks like Justin Bieber. So they dress him up to look like him, and then take a picture of him. What was it? Eating a taco from the side.
Why can't you eat one that way?
Well, but that's just it. And then they posted it, and they made a little tagline underneath it, being like, Justin Bieber can't eat it. It was a burrito. That's what it was. He was eating. And they said they doesn't know how to eat a burrito. And it blew up. It was on news stations. It was on TMZ.
So when you eat a sandwich, where do you start? If it's a whole sandwich, it's not cut into triangle.
Oh, I eat the middle first, because then I make it a donut.
As I say, do you start at the top? Do you start at the bottom? Crust on, crust off?
I honestly, it takes me 4 bites to get through a sandwich.
Well, that's beside the point. But do you start at the top of the bread or the bottom of the bread?
I don't even think about it. I just eat
You
it.
just start eating.
Yeah, I just, wherever I've grabbed, whatever my fingers are not in.
Let me ask you this question. When you eat one of my wife's cinnamon rolls, do you unroll it and save the very centerpiece for
I
last?
just eat it.
Or you just eat a bit? Well, some people eat them unspiraled.
No, I need to try that. Why
And
don't you guys make it?
they say that the center bite, because that's the one with all of the delicious icing and most cinnamon sugar part, should be the part you eat last. Because you work your way to it as you unwind the cinnamon. I'm not gonna lie, I do unwind cinnamon rolls on occasion, but
Yeah, here's that picture.
yeah, but people are dumb.
Yeah,
right?
no, but, like it does.
Everybody has a doppelganger out there. Let's be honest. Everybody has their doppelganger, right?
Well, it's gonna be a video, but well, you can kind of see the guy that's his buddy, it's
Right?
not Justin Bieber. But I was like, they did it as a thing, and they made money off of this. They sold that to like TMZ and all this stuff, and it shows you how quick people be like.
And I'm willing to
bam.
bet Bieber sued the crap out of him.
No, he thought it was hilarious because it got him publicity.
Well, that too. But nothing's done for free, right?
Yeah.
But if it had been bad publicity, well, actually, some say that bad publicity is just as good as good publicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Albert Einstein. And school math. The name Einstein has become synonymous with genius, and given his larger-than-life presence, it's no wonder that multiple myths have spawned regarding him. The most famous one of all was, of course, that Einstein failed math in grade school. It's a popular story because it makes us all feel better about our own mistakes and failures and gives us hope that one day we can turn it all around. Well, that's just not true. While that last part is certainly possible, the bit about Einstein isn't, although there is a kernel of truth in there. Einstein was gifted in geometry, physics, and algebra from a young age. By the time he was 11, he was already studying them in a college level. It is true that he failed an exam, although it wasn't in grade school. It was the entrance exam to Zurich Polytechnic. Einstein first took it when he was 16, and he failed because the tests were in French, and he couldn't understand the language. He still nailed the math questions, though, because math is the only language out there that is universal.
That's kind of funny. So he was like doing because he was German, right?
Yes.
And
Well, I'm not sure if he was one of those. I'm not sure if he was completely German or he could have been. I'm pretty sure he was German, but I don't want to be wrong here.
Yep, German.
German. Yeah, I was gonna say he could have been from Poland too, but I don't know. Wasn't sure. But yeah. Yeah, he failed an exam, which makes me feel better because I failed lots of those.
Yeah, I just wish that there was something that I was just really good at.
Napping?
Oh yeah, I'm good at that. But there's other people that are better.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah. My dad can beat me in a nap any day.
Very nice. Number 4, Gene Simmons and the Cow Tongue. The band Kiss is known for several things: rocking and rolling all night, partying every day, and staging outrageous and theatrical live performances. There are rockets, pyrotechnics, smoking guitars, fire breathing, and of course, makeup. One on top of all that, bassist Gene Simmons became well known for his prodigious tongue, which he probably showed off at every opportunity. In fact, his tongue became so famous that people started having doubts that it was completely genuine. The rumors soon appeared that Simmons had enhanced his look by surgically replacing his own appendage with a cow tongue. Gross. On so many levels. And first of all, the laws of biology wouldn't allow it. Your genetic material is so different, like your body would reject it. You can't, there's a reason we don't put like, you don't put like pig's feet on your arm, right?
Yeah.
You can't put a pig heart in a human because it won't work. This is absurd, of course, for several reasons. Besides the fact that the tongue transplants were medically impossible back then, when Kiss first made it big in the 70s, a cow's tongue is almost 20 times larger than that of a human's, so the difference would have been quite noticeable. Furthermore, although Simmons' tongue is large, it's not like it's the largest ever or anything like that. It's just simply larger than normal. Lastly, the myth was debunked by the man himself. He referred to the story as his favorite Kiss rumor, but confirmed that his tongue was 100% his.
Yeah, I guess he never, because it's saying on here that, because you can get that.
Yeah, he never did it. No.
Well, they just don't know. They think he might have done that, but he never admitted to doing anything like that. But did you know that he insured his tongue?
Well, yeah, it's one of his big money.
Yeah, but how do you, can I insure my finger?
Yes. There are video gamers, there are musicians that insure body parts on it because that's what's most valuable on them. Don't get me into the adult actors that do that.
You should insure your hands, because if you didn't have them, then you couldn't do your printing.
Unfortunately, it would cost me more to insure them than they're worth.
Then injure them.
Right.
Just seems like I got a paper cut. I gotta get
right.
some insurance to cover the medical bills.
George Washington Carver and peanut butter. George Washington Carver was a scientist whose efforts were integral to the agriculture economics of the United States, particularly in the South, which was entirely too reliant on cotton crops, and yet he is mainly remembered as the peanut butter guy, which not only belittles his accomplishments, but it's not even true. Born into slavery, Carver wanted to help black sharecroppers who were perpetually indebted to white plantation owners by making their farms more productive. Cotton was by far America's most profitable crop, but it was also very demanding on the soil. Since most black farmers barely scraped by on paper-thin profit margins, they had no choice but to plant the most valuable crop. But growing cotton season after season depleted the soil of nutrients, which is why Carver wanted them to practice crop rotation and alternate between crops to give the soil some time to heal. We do this today a lot. But farmers were only willing to do this if they could actually profit off those other crops, which was why Carver started coming up with hundreds and hundreds of other uses for soybeans, sweet potatoes, and of course, peanuts. He came up with over 300 uses for peanuts alone, ranging from shaving cream to glue to shampoo and all sorts of foodstuffs. And yet peanut butter was not one of them because it already existed. The Aztecs and the Incas both made a paste out of roasted peanuts centuries earlier, and in modern times, several people applied for patents related to peanut butter, including Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. Didn't do anything with peanut butter, and that's all I remembered for.
You need to invent something so that I can steal it and patent it.
Did you know, up until modern history, that the wheelbarrow had never been patented? And finally, some dude went down to the patent office and patented the wheelbarrow.
We should.
It's been around for thousands of years.
We should take a look and go through the patent thing and make sure everything that we own is patented. If it's not patented, then sue people.
Right.
We could make a killing.
Well, there was a dude who he was a golfer. He liked to play golf, but he didn't like golf tees much. He didn't like picking them up and moving them around when they're broken. So he made some that were out of fertilizer. They're the same exact shape as your golf tees, but when you tee off, they break. You just leave them and they fertilize the ground.
They might smell funky.
They're in your golf bag. I mean, honestly, who cares?
Well, my golf bag's falling apart.
Well, that'll happen. George Crumb and the potato chip. The story of how one of the world's most popular snacks, I love potato chips, came to be is one of spite and happenstance. One day in 1853, a man visited Moon's Lake House in Saratoga Springs, New York, and ordered fried potatoes. When his food arrived, the man promptly set it back, complaining that the fries were too thick and not salty or crispy enough. The chef at the restaurant was a man of native and African American descent named George Crumb, aka George Speck, and he didn't take kindly to fussy eaters. His potatoes were too thick, fine. He sliced them as thinly as possible. They weren't crispy or salty enough, fine. He cooked them until they became crunchy and bathed them in salt. To his surprise, the patron loved them. And that's how potato chips, or Saratoga chips, as Crumb called them, were born. To make the story even more fantastical, some versions claim that the patron was none other than railroad tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt. Unfortunately, there's nothing to suggest that any part of this story is true. Crumb was considered one of America's master chefs of his day, and yet nobody hailed him as the inventor of the potato chip in his lifetime, not even Crumb himself. This was a story that spread after his death, and the true inventor remains up for debate.
Are they patented?
Probably by now. And number one, I'm pretty sure you've heard this. Walt Disney and the Frozen Head. Cryonics is the practice of freezing a human body soon after death in the belief that future medical advances would allow us to bring it back to life. Sometimes the entire body isn't even needed, just the head. Surely by the time that medical science is advanced enough that resurrections have become possible, we would have overcome our need for our body and would be able to stick our brain in a computer, an android, a smart toaster, or something like that. There are plenty of people who have placed their hopes for a long-lasting life in cryonics, including, if the myth is to be believed, its most famous patron, Walt Disney. According to the popular urban legend, the head of the Walt Disney Company, that's funny, is currently waiting on ice.
You never hear that
waiting
Disney
for science.
was frozen?
Huh?
You never heard that he was frozen?
Oh, I knew that. Everybody knows this.
Okay.
Everyone knows this, but it's it's not true. The whole
Well, it is. You can find them next to the peas in the freezer.
yeah, waiting for science to bypass the whole death thing. Some even say that it is stored in the freezer underneath Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
It's the sunken treasure. Davy Jones. He's in Davy Jones' locker.
Yeah, there you go. Like, oh man, we got full-on RoboCop here.
Oh, man. I just think it would be dumb. I can't see myself ever, like right now, I'm at the age where, yeah, I don't want to like die. But when I get to like, my grandma was in her 80s and she used to constantly, I could tell that she was like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, I think you get to a point where you're like, I'm ready. And if you're not at that point, well, sucks to be you.
Well, the minute you're born, your body starts to die.
Yeah. I mean, man, I'm like, not even 40 yet. And why are you shaking your head?
What?
You're turning 40 this year.
Yeah, like that was coming out of nowhere. Hey, so I did see a bit of technology I thought was kind of cool, and it goes back to video games. You've seen Ready Player One, right?
Yep.
Right? Your wife has read it. She would know it's far better than the movie, but both are still very good. The suit he wears in the movie, so he can feel, those exist.
Yes.
They exist.
Yeah, but they vibrate.
Right. They're not like, you don't feel like you're getting punched or shot, which I don't think I would like anyway.
I would.
Like being shot? What if you got...
Well, not like...
You play online, and where do most guys aim?
Oh, yeah.
Do it again.
But I wouldn't mind, like, not like painful, but enough to be like, oh.
That's smart, right? But yeah, they exist.
Because it would also be kind of cool. You're thinking you're playing a game like that. And even if you have hit points, if you're like walking and you feel it in their shoulder from behind, you know they're behind you.
My question is like, how does the suit put force to where you actually feel it? Or is it, like you said, it's just a vibration, right?
Yeah, so, you got to think of like controllers now. So you have the triggers on the PS5 now.
Yeah.
That when you go to open something, they can have locks on them to make them harder to push depending on.
Really? See, I haven't touched a new controller in a decade.
So like, I'm trying to think, the new God of War, when you went to go open a door and it was a heavy door they had to push on. When you had to push it, it was actually harder to pull the trigger because
I break my controller.
But that's just how they're designed now. So when it comes to those suits,
Yeah.
the way that it is the programming is in the game, and it knows that if a bullet hits here to vibrate there.
The thing that would get me about that is like in the movie, and they don't show this, but they explained it in the book. You have to be naked to be in them to get the full effect and feel everything.
Yeah.
I don't think I want. I mean, you know how gross that would get?
They just get very sweaty.
Yeah.
And let's be honest.
After
though,
2 or 3 days, it's going to smell like your hockey equipment.
Well, you look at those suits from that show. How many really big people were there?
Right?
So, I mean, you'd have to get a special
Actually,
suit.
in the book, it explains where he literally sets up a regular exercise regimen. So he's not because he was getting too big for his suit and he didn't want to buy new ones.
Well, that's just it, right? You'd have to probably pay more to get a bigger suit.
So what he did is he made it so that it wouldn't even let him log in until he finished his exercise regimen that day.
Well, I'd never get to log in.
Would you play hockey that way?
I love playing hockey.
In person, but would you play it that way?
Would I put no? Because then I can't feel the pain.
What if you could though?
I still don't think so. Because like the thing that always confused me is like you see it, and like at least in the movie, but realistically, let's say you're doing the running and moving.
The omnidirectional, they don't exist yet.
Yeah, but even if they did, one wrong step or one step too far, and you step on it and face plant because.
Well, he's got cables attached to him, so he doesn't fall.
Yeah, but you need like a whole room. Like remember the movie Gamer?
Yeah.
Where he had like a whole
underrated movie actually.
The ending sucked.
The rest
was good.
The rest of the movie was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was kind of an underrated game.
Oh man, we're
over. You guys got bonus content today.
Yeah, but you've been listening to Average Rants here at KNMC
90.1
FM.
next week.